What is going on, Internet? Eric Banholz back again with another e-commerce conversations. I hope all is well on the other side of the internet. On the other side of the internet from me, Shireen, what's up?
What is up, Eric? Oh my gosh, the best introduction. I've heard a lot of introductions in my life. None have been as good.
Well, I'm sad or happy to say, I am looking at the world's best hair in ecom, but you don't know if I'm looking at my own hair or at your hair right now because we got a split screen here.
I am looking at the world's best hat in ecom.
Okay. Yeah, so Shireen has beautiful hair flowing. It takes up the whole screen. You can check us out on YouTube and see what kind of look she's rocking. It's absolutely phenomenal. I love that you're the self-proclaimed best hair in ecom. Where did you get that inspiration?
Yeah, so actually, Rabah Rahil coined that term, and I just decided that I decided he was right and that I should just keep going with it.
Yeah, Rob is great. He's been on the podcast a couple times. I love that guy. I saw him. I was at a conference this morning. I saw his name tag, but I didn't see him show up, so he kind of ghosted the event. I'll have to give him a little bit of
Typical,
flack.
typical.
Why don't you give our listeners a quick rundown of who the heck you are and what the heck you do?
I'm Shireen. I'm the D2C queen. I have the best hair in ecom. That's all you need to know. But I've spent a lot of time in ecom growth, marketing, digital. Was at a few different agencies. Was at Common Thread Collective as their head of strategy, and went brand side at a couple of super high growth brands. One went from 0 to 100 in 2 years. Expanded into all targets, acquired a competitor, and then that was Bobby, an infant formula brand, and then I joined Ilia post acquisition. One of I think the country's best clean beauty brand. Came in post acquisition, and had a lot of fun there, and recently left to start my own thing, working with many brands.
You what what was it like? Was it just you need the thrill of a lot of different brands, or like, do you like are there certain stages of brand building that you're more drawn towards?
Yeah, it's actually that I'm psychotic and I need to work across many different brands. No, I think I, really enjoyed my time at agencies. It's such a grind working with many different brands. It's, hard having many different bosses, but it's actually very thrilling because you can you get amazing pattern recognition. You can see how things are performing across different brands. I primarily work with beauty brands because category expertise in beauty is really prized because it's so specific, and you have to understand the customer and how they shop in the ecosystem. So it's really, fun getting to see how these different brands, different sizes operate. I really enjoy applying like what I've learned to these brands and founders and teams and helping them get to the next stage.
Also, you mentioned Common Thread Collective. I feel like Taylor Holiday is kind of like they in sports. He probably does a lot of sports analogies, but like a coaching tree. You've got your agency. You've got Andrew Ferris's agency. I don't know if there's other ones that I'm missing. You're working with Jacob as well, who's been on the podcast, doing some AI stuff. Is he full time with you, or are you just kind of collaborating?
We're
Uh,
collaborating. He's amazing, so brilliant, and one of the sharpest minds in AI and software. And he's helping us build our own software, helping us, basically what I think is LLMs are right now, they're generalists, and where if you can niche down and you have specific frameworks that work, yeah, maybe the LLMs will get there. I think that's their goal, is to get good enough. But there are so many ways to do something. So I think it's like figuring out what your framework is and using those tools. And that's what he's helping us do.
Yeah, I feel like it's such an exciting time in the space. We've got OpenClaw. I know you've got your own OpenClaw. I forget his name. Um,
Liam.
Liam. I created an OpenClaw. I was quite amused with my own wit for the name of my guy, but he's also quite incompetent, so he's kind of been thrown into the basement at this point. I almost feel like we're on the cusp of being able to build, um, AI agents that can handle multiple aspects of a business in e-com, whether that be like influencer outreach, maintenance, follow up, and wholesale relationships for like maybe smaller tier accounts, things like that. Are you feeling like that's available currently, or do you feel like that's around the corner, or maybe never going to be a thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's where the stuff with OpenClaw and the agents is so interesting because you basically need to have unlimited time and unlimited creativity, and then you can basically have it do anything. And I'm trying to figure that out right now is like, how do I get more time to unlock the power of what agents can do? Because we have a good one. We use it and it's easy to adopt. So people enjoy working with it because it sits in the tools and systems that people are already have like built habits around. It's really hard to get people to adopt a new piece of software because it's like you're asking them to create a new habit. And so that I think is really cool about agents. You're not changing the way you do the way that you work, and it can take on tasks the way that a person would. If you teach that person a skill, you can teach the agent a skill and it can take on that task. And I, I feel like I've barely scratched the surface of what it can do. And yeah, the only limitation is my imagination and time.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, I'm not the brightest bulb in the candle factory, and it's just it seems like the learning curve for like setting like talk about how easy it is to open up and create your own. For me, it was not easy. Like it took like 6 hours, and granted, I'm using like an older machine, but um, yeah. And then I start using it, and it's just like spitting out gobbledygook, and it's like, all right, like throwing on my hands. I'll wait a little bit and see if it gets a little bit easier. But the change in the thought process was basically imagine you hire an employee and they you give them a computer and ask them to do work on that computer. Basically, an agent could do the same thing. So it's like anything you could do on a computer, an agent is going to be able to do. So then that like really changed my perception of like what these agents can be for a company.
Yeah, and the setup is not easy, and it'll probably get easier. But hiring a person and teaching them stuff is not easy either.
Right.
It takes a lot of time. But I think the thing that, in order to be successful, or why I was successful, is because I treated it like a toy. I was like, "Oh, I'm a child with a new toy, and I'm gonna break it and figure out what to do with it. I have no idea what it can do. I'm gonna experiment, and I'm gonna just assume that there are no limitations." And it's the same way a kid, would experience something new. And I think that's the same with any kind of like software or tech. In order to adopt it, you just have to treat it like you're experimenting.
Yeah, like failure is kind of the default, and that's how you learn is through that failure. One of the other shifts that happen, and we talked about it before I hit record, is the offer being such an incredible part of the sales process. And I feel like in all the conversations I have with other entrepreneurs, the offer very rarely comes up. It's always, meta and creative. Walk me through what a good offer does and why is it such a crucial part of the sales cycle.
Yeah. It's already hard enough to get someone to buy something online. Like, I've done so much market research for omni-channel brands, and generally the number one discovery source is digital media, social media. And but the number one sales channel is still retail. So if you're an e-com brand or a D2C brand, or you're a D2C channel owner and you're trying to grow your D2C, you have to understand like the first thing is like no one wants to buy on a brand's website unless they have no other choice. So it's very applicable. I think it's applicable to high barrier to entry. Or offer strategy is applicable to every brand, but you can kind of think of it as like, okay, let's like hone in on that. If you have a high barrier to entry, which means that your customer can buy things anywhere, or you have a higher price point, or you have a higher consideration cycle, then there is an opportunity to have a more nuanced offer strategy. And I think in e-com, the brands that have perfected the offer, like acquisition offer strategy is like these food delivery brands have done such a good job. They've have had their subscription first businesses. They've had to figure out how do we get you not only to be acquired and try something that is crazy. We're asking you to stop going to the grocery store and buying groceries. We're asking you to just buy this kit of ingredients and then like that's crazy. So they've done like so much testing, and I think those are great examples of like ways that they can get people in and retained on subscription. And if you even just like have been paying attention to how those brands have evolved, they start with a super deep discount introductory offer to get you hooked on the subscription. And then they realize like, oh shoot, everyone's just canceling after their first order. So now we need like a super deep discount over several orders. And then they're like, oh, but we want to continue to increase our lifetime value. So now we give you a free piece of chicken for every month that you order, whatever. I'm just using these as examples. I think offer testing is so unique to each brand and like what you're trying to accomplish and what those barriers are that I first mentioned. But yeah, I had done a ton of testing in Bobby, which was an infant formula brand. The whole industry basically went out of stock, and we were like, well, we don't want to go out of stock for our subscribers, because if you're an infant formula brand and you don't deliver to your subscribers, they can't feed their babies, and that's really messed up, and everyone's going to hate us if that happens. So let's stop acquiring customers. And by not acquiring customers, we stopped doing all of our marketing, and we still saw demand coming. And so we flipped off our acquisition offer, and we saw demand just completely cut in half. And that was like a huge light bulb moment. And yeah, it's not really like you could be driving traffic to your site, but if you're not giving someone a low barrier reason to try, then you're not going to be effective at converting them.
What so what are some of the most, I mean, you know, we can discount our products forever, but eventually you're building a you know, like what they say, you're digging a hole for your own grave, or whatever that saying is. If you're not making money, or if it takes you, you know, 5 years to finally make back that money, like that's a very long runway. So how can you present an offer in a way that doesn't, you know, drive you out of business or erode all your margin and profitability, yet still see effective growth from it?
Yeah, you could do math on it. So, one offer lever is shipping. Shipping and discount are offer levers. So a simple test could be, oh, we have, if you buy this kit, you get free shipping. Well, what is the dollar cost of that shipping, and how does it translate into a discount? Why don't we charge for shipping and then pass that savings? So there's like a repositioning you can do with your offer testing, where like, let's give them a deeper discount and not actually change the value of the offer, but just change the positioning. So there's like ways that you can create offers that math properly, that aren't like dilutive. But I think what you're asking is really smart. Like, discounting is not always the best offer strategy. And I'll give you a very specific example. In categories like beauty, products expire or they get discontinued for many reasons, like maybe the product breaks easily or customers don't like the finish or whatever. So we have to get rid of it. You're like kind of like lowest common that's not nice, but your lowest common denominator, or like your first thought is, let's just discount this thing to move it. Well, what you're doing when you're discounting it is you're now making it accessible to new customers to try something that is going to probably not be the best experience. And you're successfully moving it. You're probably driving down your CAC, you're driving up your conversion rate, you're driving up your sales on this like 50% off this product that everyone hates, but your new customers are coming in experiencing that. Well, what if we did a buy the thing that everyone loves and get this other thing for free? So their expectation of that thing is already like low, because they're like, oh, this is like something that has no value, and I'm really coming for the thing that this brand is known for, and it's a gift with purchase. And in that scenario, rather than getting someone like you're giving them 50% off the MSRP of a terrible product, you get them to pay 100% of an amazing product. And then you're just paying the cogs of the terrible product that was going to get trashed anyways. So you're effectively increasing like the value of that order by just repositioning. And it requires like having a little bit of nuanced thought about the customer experience. And I truly think offer testing is only successful if you really understand like the customer journey and the purpose of the offer and how that customer's life cycle is after their purchase.
Let's say, oh, you're not killing any products, so you're not getting rid of anything. Is that still a strategy that you would do with like lower performing products, or just the gift with purchase, or you know, buy one get one free, something like that?
That's a really good question. Yeah, I think let's say you have a product collection that's just not moving, but it's still a core part of your collection. This is where bundling can be great, and you are positioning to the customer that, hey, if you buy, instead of buying one of like you're coming here to buy the one thing that you like from us, we're now going to present you 5 things. It includes the one thing that you like from us, but it's these other 5 things. And because we're building your basket, we're going to give you some kind of incentive in a bundle. We're going to position it as, like in beauty, they do like the 5-minute face, or like this is like everything you need. And in other categories, there's a version of that. There's like, in food products, it's like a sampler kit, or it's a like whatever morning routine bundle, whatever you want to call it. I think those higher AOV bundles work really well for existing customers though. And it's a great way to get like cross category penetration. So if I know that you like product A and I'm struggling selling product B, I'm going to market to you, customer, who's all my existing customers, honestly, that I now have a new bundle with product A and product B, and you get some kind of incentive. And then you get your next cohort of loyalists for product B.
Are these offers being driven to, or presented? I don't want to say privately, but not part of navigation. Like they have to come in through an ad. Is that how you best see it implemented, or are these you go to, let's say, beardbrand.com, and then you can just see all the offers right there and kind of pick the best? How do you execute the offer?
Very good question. I think like you probably want to start with the goals that you're trying to achieve. So if you have a goal, one goal is you want to reduce your CAC, and another goal is you want to increase your AOV. And oftentimes those two goals are like pulling apart from each other. Like the more you reduce your CAC, the more your AOV goes down, and the more you increase your AOV, the higher your CAC goes. And that's because it's more expensive to acquire new customers on higher priced products. So I think it's about like, yeah, really getting clear about what is the best experience for a new customer. Is it the right experience to get them to buy everything all at once, or is it the right experience to get them like a trial, like a little trial product or an introductory kit or something that gets them involved in the brand? And does that introductory kit have some kind of like natural repurchase that follows along with it? And that introductory kit, you probably do want it to be specific to new customers. And, I'm of the opinion that if you have a really strong offer, in order for it to create meaningful sales lift, it has to be available and accessible, but you have to be clear about who it's for. So if it's a new customer introductory kit, that could be available in your pop-up, or it could be accessible through Nav, or it could be like you could have ad funnels running to it. And then like I think any kind of other higher AOV bundling should also be accessible. But generally, from what I've seen, like your existing customers are more prone to buy these higher AOV kits. And we've done some experimentation on like, okay, what if you partner with an influencer or celebrity and you create a kit specific to them? That's also a really good way to get new customers to buy more products at once. So yeah, there's like such unlimited offer experimentation that can happen.
So just do it all and see what works for you, because they're, the timeless, all of it works and none of it works.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like yeah, and it's like, well, what work okay, so if you wanna really increase new customer volume, then you probably want a toolkit of offers that you have some level of comfort with running at different times. So you probably have an evergreen acquisition offer that pencils in a good way from a finance standpoint. So you're not losing money on new customer acquisition. But every once in a while, you can like throw in like a really great, like this week only, we're doing a gift with purchase, a full size product or this or that. It's limited because we don't want it to fatigue. And the goal of that will be to create a spike in new customer acquisition. Um,
And how often do you run those? Is that like a quarterly thing?
well, I think the brands should aim to not have to be reliant on offers for as long as they possibly can. They should aim to get full price sales for as long as they possibly can. And I think if they're struggling with customer acquisition, the first thing that I would do if a brand is struggling with customer acquisition is to just create like an offer testing roadmap. And sometimes it's really hard to A/B test this stuff. So you kind of have to do like a pre and post test where you're like, we're just going to launch this. We're going to run it for 2 weeks. We're going to observe what happens compared to the baseline. There's never really a good baseline in a brand because there's always something happening. And then I think for brands that don't have a lot of like product launches or innovation, you have to have something new to talk about. And that's to your existing customer base to get them to come back. So that's where stuff like creating new bundles and merchandising your products together, the same products together in new ways and repositioning them is a good way to like fake a product launch. So, okay, you bought my product. I have nothing new to tell you. I continue to tell you the same thing. Well, all of a sudden, like my spring bundle is here. Oh, great. It's new to you because you don't know every product that I have, but this feels like a new product. And new products create big lift in purchase activity.
Yeah. Are you seeing that communication primarily through email, SMS, or are you also bringing that to Meta and other paid channels?
Yeah, for bundling, like launching new bundles, I think it's most effective in email and SMS because, it's like an existing customer is probably more likely to buy those if they're higher AOV. But there is a place for them in your customer acquisition, and I've generally found it hard to get good direct response performance in ads, in video ads that are showcasing like multiple products because you can't really talk about each product enough to convince someone to buy it. And in those ads, it could be a static ad, but let's say it's a video ad, you're talking about more like the whole brand and how to use the whole brand. And that becomes like less of it's more like mid funnel, less direct response conversion. So there's like a place for all of this stuff.
Yeah. I want to pick your brain on, let's say you start working with a new brand. They come to you because they've worked with, multiple other agencies. They've tried doing it in house. They've been trying to grow for a number of years. They've just kind of hit this plateau. And they want to continue growing. They think the market's still there. Maybe they see competitors who are doing higher volume. Walk me through kind of like your hierarchy of levers that you start to work on to see how you can break out of that plateau.
Yeah, the first one is the most important one I think is like the forecast, the revenue model, and what scaling spend means for EBITDA. And so I'll create like a matrix of at your spend based on your variable and fixed costs, our assumption of your average variable and fixed costs, and at different like MER thresholds for different spend, this is what your EBITDA would be. That's like most brands don't even know that. So it's like, okay, you could actually spend like not all brands are in this situation, but like you have really good efficiency, you're underspending, you could spend more and get more EBITDA simply because of the volume of fixed expenses that you have in the business. So that's like the first thing is like having an understanding of that and then being able to plan spend monthly and weekly based on what EBITDA could be. And then I think it's like, from that revenue model, you have an annual forecast and you have KPIs, and those KPIs become your daily projection. So you have a KPI projection for every KPI. So then you understand if my CAC is beating my projected KPI, I can spend more. I think what most brands don't have a CAC. Some do, but like not all of them have like a CAC projection or an AOV projection, a repeat orders projection. If your repeat orders projection is missing, you can send more emails. Like let's look at like what the email program is. Let's look at the cadence. Let's look at the content strategy and like come up with a good way to drive up repeat orders. Yeah, and AOV, like if your AOV is missing your baseline expectation, that's a good opportunity to like introduce bundles or like build your own kit. So like understanding the financials and the KPIs is one. I think the other one that I would look into is then getting into the ad account, like looking at the product mix of business and saying, okay, these are your top two. This is your hero product. It's 40% of your sales, but your ad account, you're spending like 10% of your spend on the products that's driving 40% of your sales. Like that may feel okay right now. How did you get into this situation? And like, what is this going to look like in a year? Because if you don't support like your hero product in your ads, it's going to become like a declining business situation. I think most of the ad accounts that I've seen are in that situation, and then because like and they're not spending against their hero product because they don't have good enough content. Um, but it's like a downward spiral because then they're like, oh, but this other thing is working, so let's just make more of this other thing that's working. And it's like, no, this is an emergency. You need to go make better content for the thing that's driving the core of your business. And I think it generally comes down to like those things.
Okay, so really kind of digging into an analysis of the P&L, or digging into an analysis of the ad accounts to make sure we're allocating things properly. Let's say that the brand is actually doing all those things right, and they're just they try to spend more on things that are core to their business, but Meta is not doing it. They're adding, 7 new pieces of content a week, something like that. So the creative output is there. What's your next lever?
Yeah, there's short-term levers and longer-term levers. The short-term lever, if we're talking about offers, is I would want to dig into like what is that welcome offer? Are we bringing in enough new customers? Have we been trying to preserve efficiency and pulling back spend? Is there a welcome offer that we can turn on very quickly, like a gift with purchase or some kind of introductory offer to drive new customer volume? And then I think the longer term, this is my new hot take. I don't know how hot it is, but I'm becoming very bearish on Meta. And I still believe that it's the best advertising platform that drives the best sales lift out of all of them. But I think it's an over reliance on Meta and advertising. Like this is not a new take, but I think a lot of brands are putting so much effort into it, and then they're putting so much effort into maybe the content strategy like is good enough, but it's not good enough. Like I think in general, you know, yeah, I would run through that. Like, let's get an emergency introductory offer. Let's really assess the content strategy. Do we have content pipelines coming into the business that are not just the same? Like, if your content is just like, I have a static graphic designer, I have a video editor and a creative strategist, and they sit there and they just churn out brand content, like that to me is not enough. You also need like social first content, native content. You need influencer content. You need founder content. You need like all of these pipelines of content working together. And then I think, I am very of the mindset that there's like a limited amount of advertising inventory that everyone's budgets are increasing, and they're all putting it into Meta, and they're all expecting more and more money. And there will become a point where there are advertisers that are going to spend more than you, and their budgets will continue to grow beyond yours. And Meta and TikTok are hungry for like entertaining organic content, and they will actually probably prioritize entertaining organic content because their number one goal is user engagement and time on platform. So I think the brand, like this is the longer term, is like the brands that can actually create engaging social content will continue to get free advertising. And that's really hard to do I think the brands that are very successful and have been growing very quickly have essentially built like content and media teams in-house with like tons of people making content. So it's not the quick answer.
Yeah. You do mention, Meta, looking beyond Meta, let's call it that. Where do your eyeballs go to next in terms of from a marketer's perspective?
I think it depends on the category, but I think like TikTok is probably one of the best, and it depends on like the stage of business, but it's like one of the best awareness platforms. And it depends on the stage. And then TikTok Shop, like there's a lot of interesting things happening there, and it's not the most profitable channel, but it's a way to get affiliate influencer content at scale. And the hardest thing for a brand to do is get content at scale. Like TikTok Shop has figured out how to do that. So I think that's that. And it's actually quite like time consuming. There's like tools that are, there's tools that are out there that people can use to like do seeding at scale for TikTok Shop. But there's some brands that I work with that super interesting. They use like influencer affiliates as their primary acquisition driver, and then they just use Meta as like retargeting, like higher AOV product. And yeah, it's actually like more efficient. Their MER is better, their CACs are better when they don't use Meta for acquisition, which is like crazy because that's opposed to everything that I've ever believed.
Yeah, it's always fun talking to other entrepreneurs, like what you hear. It's I was having a conversation with one of my friends who is annoyed with Meta for getting rid of the credit cards, because he functionally allowed that to enhance his life in different ways, and taking that away, it's taken away a big part of why he's doing this stuff. So he's like, screw Meta, I'm going to go to Google and dust off all that and try that. And then while in conversation, he's like, the Meta people convert better, so it's like it's kind of like this drug, it seems like, for a lot of entrepreneurs, where the audience does seem to convert better on Meta, or Meta's algorithm is much better at finding people who uh, are relevant to your product's offers. So um, I'm a big fan of, as much as possible, diversification, and not being beholden to any platform. However, I do believe that also presents a trade-off of your growth ability. I think when you have your hand in a lot of different areas, then you're not focused and you're not optimizing it to the best of your abilities. So it's kind of like that trade-off. You have to determine what's right for you.
Totally. Totally. I was listening to that like very first part of the Comfort guy interview. I don't know if you saw that. The operators just released the interview on Comfort and how he got to 1 billion in sales. And it's like crazy because this guy has no clue how ecom works at all and just like figured out affiliates and influencers and it just completely ran a different playbook. Um, and I think that's like very telling is like, how do you get like high volume, high velocity of an army of people talking about your brand? And can that be, if you can figure out how to do that at scale, can it be more effective than putting money into Meta, um, struggling to create your own content? It's just a question I have. I don't have any
Yeah.
answers.
Yeah. The old school me wouldn't wanted to do it all myself, like be our own, like you said, media agency, create our own content, and and that's great. I do believe that you have incredible margins with that, and if you're bootstrapped, it allows you to scale up. But I do think you start to hit a wall, and you never develop the skills of how to, for us, it was like how to get out of that plateau. Like we've known how to do it within our own little walled garden, but we haven't yet mastered, working with other partners, or building that affiliate network, or mastering the data on Meta and stuff like that. Where can people follow you, hire you,
You
check
can
out your
follow
hair?
Yeah, you can check out my hair here, right here on this podcast. um, you can follow me on Twitter at Shireen Aubert. If you don't want to get any kind of value or insights and you just want really like bad jokes, and then you can go to LinkedIn if you want like really good, valuable, professional content.
Oh, do you post on LinkedIn?
Every once in a while. Yeah, it's so
Okay.
funny, like yeah, people will be like, "Oh, I saw your post on LinkedIn. It was so insightful." And then they're like, "I saw your post on Twitter and I feel better about what I post now because you're just like such a loser." And I'm like, "Oh, great. Cool. Thank you."
I'm a big fan of shit posting. I feel like that, like it just life is more interesting when it's not just all business, and it's a
Totally.
little bit fun.
So true.
Well, thanks for sharing your Friday afternoon with me. I hope our listeners enjoy this as much as I did. This has been another e-commerce conversations. Cheers
What a great conversation, Eric. Thank you so much.
and keep on growing.